Fearful face shocking truth. Sam Heughan reveals for the first time the secret pains that shocked the world. The backstage lights were still dim, the machines were buzzing and the makeup was removed. Sam Heughan sat in front of a large mirror, his eyes shining with something both resilient and fragile. On stage, he had always been a powerful symbol, tall, masculine, humorous, but behind the scenes, few knew the sounds echoing from the depths of his soul. Tonight, in a special interview, with only a small camera, no spotlights, no glitz, he decided to open up. Facing his fear, he opened his closed box, revealing 9 secret pains that most outsiders had no idea about. When the last words came out, fans around the world were silent, because each pain was both real and painful. Here's the story, the words never told before, from Sam Heughan's mouth, the loneliness behind the spotlight. Sam says, "Every time I step out on stage, I hear the applause, the cheers. I feel like I'm lost in a maze of lights." Behind the spotlight, he says, he feels a deep sense of loneliness, not because he lacks a lover, nor because he lacks friends, but because of the difference between being in front of a crowd and being on his own. He remembers nights after the show, when the spotlights are off, everyone has gone home, leaving only the sound of footsteps drifting down the empty hallway, only the mirror covered in dim light, and only him, with his small, fragile feelings. The pressure of community expectations. The fan community believes Sam is the perfect man, handsome, elegant, talented, strong but sensitive enough. "People have an image of me," he says, "a version of me that I have to live up to, every day, whenever I show up." That pressure, he shares, has made him afraid of disappointing others, afraid of criticism, afraid that one day he will no longer meet the mold that people have placed on him. And so, every step, every word, he weighs and measures, not because he wants to, but because he has to. The petty pain of childhood. Sam confesses that in his younger years, childhood was not always filled with laughter. He grew up in a family with a strong mother, a cold but not cruel father, and a little sister whom he loved very much. However, he remembers very clearly the moments lying in bed listening to his father knocking on his mother's door, sometimes in a gentle argument, sometimes quietly, and he asked himself, "What should I do to make them not sad?" Then he learned to be quiet, learned not to disturb, learned to hold back his tears. The loss that had never been spoken. When Sam entered the acting profession, he had to give up something very special. Not the role or the fame, but something inside, the dream of living a normal life, not being photographed, not being scrutinized. He said that he had loved someone very deeply, someone he thought would be his life partner. But because of work, filming schedules and fame, they gradually drifted apart. There was no big argument, no noisy breakup, just distance, gradually growing, swallowing up the closeness. Even now, every time he looks at an image of that person, playing a certain character, or in a social media post, he still feels a small, unhealed wound. The mental health trade-off. One of the biggest revelations to fans. Sam once suffered from a deep depression, to the point where he didn't want to get out of bed for days at a time. The anxiety was so overwhelming that he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror, not recognizing himself. He described the feeling as an invisible darkness, a formless shell that separated him from happiness. And the worst part was that he had to keep quiet. If he spoke out, he might be seen as weak, unprofessional. Fear of being forgotten. Even as his career reached its peak, he became globally famous thanks to Outlander. He was always afraid that he would be replaced, afraid that his work would fade, like a falling star, and then fade into the darkness. With each new work, each new role, he felt pressured to surpass the previous work, to handle the role better, to prove himself constantly. And in the silence of the night, when the silence overshadows the mind, the fear of being forgotten becomes louder than any noise. Hating the rumors. Sam admits there were times when he was the target of rumors, small things blown out of proportion, misunderstandings or assumptions about his love life, his character, his morals. The rumors hurt him more than any criticism, because they destroyed not only his image but also his heart. Once, there was news that he and a co-star of Outlander were having an affair. The news spread quickly, fans talked about it, the press reprinted it. He didn't want to ruin someone else's career, nor did he want to speak out, but keeping quiet meant the rumors continued to live on, still hurting. Loss of himself. Most clearly, Sam felt he had lost a lot in the process of achieving success. Freedom, simplicity, peaceful, carefree time, real closeness with family and friends, small hobbies like reading early in the morning, making a cup of coffee, wandering around without a plan. He said there were weeks where all he could think about was the plane, the studio, the camera, the script. When he got home, if he did get home, he was so tired that he couldn't talk, couldn't enjoy himself, he just slept and continued his journey. The pain of always being strong. Finally, what probably touched the hearts of fans the most, Sam said that he always had to pretend to be strong, strong in front of the camera, in front of the media, in front of fans, in front of close friends. Strong so that others would believe that nothing could defeat him, but being strong forever, it was tiring. Once he burst into tears after a press conference, no one saw, just a few tears rolling down his cheeks and a pain in his throat. He was afraid that others would see him fall, afraid of getting hurt, afraid that fans would lose faith.